Good morning, and welcome aboard our stream today. So happy to have you. Marvel Comics already announced so many exciting things over at San Diego Comic-Con this year. I am so thrilled to go over all these brand new announcements with you. Plus, we get to talk about some of the most recent developments over in the X-Men's From the Ashes line. I really think it's going to be just a fantastic stream today. I'm so happy to have you aboard. Last week up on the channel, we actually had a fantastic video review for none other than NYX issue 1. This comic book exceeded my expectations on nearly like every single front here. I think so much of the casual writing from Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly accommodated the really interesting and young cast throughout this script so incredibly well. Plus, the artwork from Francesco Mortarino was much more animated than I anticipated, and I think got a much different, side of some of these characters like Kamala Khan than we've seen interpreted from other comic book artists. So I'm actually happy to go ahead and continue our conversation about this book. This week, we have some brand new solicits for NYX, and we even have a brand new teaser for the second issue. This one looks really, really cool. Actually, the character behind this second issue looks like it's really going to feature some plot elements over with Laura Kinney. Laura Kinney, too, had a really interesting cameo appearance towards the end of the first chapter of NYX as well. So, really thrilled to go ahead and dive into that. Elsewhere, we have an incredibly busy week up on the channel over for the X-Men comic books. XForce is coming out actually this upcoming Wednesday. We actually have some preview pages for that comic book. I am really thrilled about how the brand new cast is lined up for this upcoming series here. Characters like Surge, Forge, and Sage I think are really interesting, especially with coming off just the massive Krakoan era for the X-Men. We just got done watching the X-Men battle this really dark version of Beast. So I feel like there's a ton of baggage here heading into this upcoming first installment. Plus, one of the really interesting things about this brand new issue of X-Force that actually connects it over with Marvel's current Ultimate line of titles is the fact that the X-Men called Surge is actually in both series. So finally, there's something that kind of connects the 616 and Ultimate universes together at Marvel. There's a lot to say about X-Force. In addition to everything we've already talked about, this is going to be the new home for Betsy Braddock, a mutant who I really, really appreciated during the Krakoan age, and I'm happy to see her on a book that'll hopefully put her, more firmly implanted within Marvel's continuity. Plus, she gets to continue her relationship with the character of Ascani that she also, first gathered some romantic feelings towards in the latest Krakoan era for Marvel. So I'm happy to see that in light of these characters being like more supporting players for the X-Men, that it looks like Marvel's editorial and the brand new creative team on X-Force, consisting of writer Jeffrey Thorne, are really committed to moving forward this next era of X-Men while honoring what came before. Another interesting element about this brand new team is the fact that Forge seems to be the leader, and he's gathered some mysterious new tech that he's utilizing to really base so much of the operations behind this new team of X-Force characters. Okay, with that being said, we are officially ready to get into our first San Diego Comic-Con stream over for 2024. So good to have you aboard our stream today. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and go over the latest issue of NYX. I'm going to preview the new issue of that comic book series, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into Spider-Man and preview some of the brand new announcements from San Diego Comic-Con. We're in a super interesting transitional period for the Amazing Spider-Man's main series, as current author Zeb Wells is getting ready to wind down his incredibly long run over with Peter Parker and is handing it over to his former, also Amazing Spider-Man alumni Joe Kelly. So very excited to go ahead and preview the end of Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man and the beginning of Joe Kelly's a little bit later into our stream today. One super exciting thing I read about The Amazing Spider-Man last night is this comic book isn't actually relaunching into a #1 issue. It's actually going to be continuing the numbering from the Zeb Wells era in this brand new era of Spider-Man. So I frankly think there's a lot to be excited for. I wish Zeb Wells got a couple more issues, and I feel like he probably could have done a couple more things with his incredibly long-term Spider-Man series. But overall here, I can't think of a better individual to pass that really flagship Marvel Comics series over to other than Joe Kelly. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and kick off the content over for our stream today with a look at the second issue of Marvel Comics NYX. So for those that are not in the know, last week we had the debut of this brand new Marvel comic tale. This one was super interesting because it actually teamed up Kamala Khan with Laura Kinney and characters like Prodigy in the Marvel Universe. Plus, we even saw Kamala team up with Sophie Cuckoo over from Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. So in this second issue, we're going to take a look at how some of the villains from that series are going to be ascending, and in particular, how the character of Laura Kinney is going to operate as an NYX character. In the first issue of NYX, Laura Kinney had a really explosive moment with Kamala Khan, where she was able to just manage so much of her dark feelings towards her. So I want to take a look and see how Laura Kinney is fighting back some of the mysterious forces in the first issue, and just where her headspace is at in the second chapter of Marvel Comics' Urban NYX series focused on the mutant characters. This one is coming in from George Marston at Newsarama.com. Deadpool and Wolverine's Laura Kinney gets her claws bloody in NYX2 preview. Really happy to see that Laura Kinney is actually featured in the brand new Deadpool and Wolverine movie. I'm really hoping that this movie will actually help bolster her profile and get more comic book readers aware of who this character is in the first place. Laura Kinney, the second Wolverine, just made her big return in NYX1 as one of a group of young mutants, including Miss Marvel Kamala Khan, making their way in New York City. And, hot off the heels of the first issue's debut, we've got an inside look at brand new, unlettered interior pages from NYX2. In the pages, Laura is on the hunt for someone, presumably related to the anti-mutant extremists who popped up in NYX1. And she's not holding back from getting her adamantium claws bloody. You can check out the art by Francesco Mortarino and colorist Raul Angulo right here, but first, you'll have to wait to see the script by writers Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, and letterer Joe Sabino. Right off the jump here, I think the way that Francesco Mortarino is able to issue some of these page designs and show Laura Kinney battling against some of these anti-mutant groups is so arresting here. I'm really reminded of what Luciano Vecchio has done recently on comic books like the upcoming Black Widow series, as well as some of the recent Krakoa era comics that featured such interesting designs for characters like Storm and Magneto. Also, this next page shows a more intimate moment with Laura Kinney, where she's reflecting on some of the most recent developments that happened within the Marvel Universe. I'm wondering if she's going to be able to dispel some of her negative feelings towards Kamala Khan in the second issue and join a more like happy team dynamic over for the NYX characters. Here we have a look at some of our villainous mutant characters. Marvel Comics has extensively been teasing a mutant fixer known as the Local for NYX, so I'm curious to see if this is that character ruminating with some of his forces across the background of New York City. Another really interesting element of NYX is it really took place across New York City and Brooklyn as well. It's really interesting to see that each title so far within Marvel Comics From the Ashes is occupying a different spot across the globe. My favorite example of this is how Cyclops is currently operating in Alaska within the Factory, and we have Jean Grey up in space dealing with some cosmic forces in the brand new Phoenix book as well. Also, I want to highlight a lot of these facial expressions. I think especially on this character who may be the fixer, we have a really interesting gaze and a pair of blue eyes that get me really interested in seeing what he's cooking up here in the background. Also, great close-up here on the second panel in the page as well. Here we have a fight sequence with Laura Kinney, maybe against some of the mysterious Fixer's goons across the page. Super dynamic action sequences here, filling in so much of the action between the panels. I really like it when artists find interesting ways to depict movement across the page. And I really think that following this brand new NYX series, I'm going to be a lot more acclimated to Francesco Mortarino. I feel like he's really been able to carve out a distinctive visual identity, even among some of the other From the Ashes comic book artists so far. Okay, it looks like this is the end of our preview of NYX issue 2. I'm going to go ahead and check out the solicit and the rest of this article, and then we may preview the future of what Marvel Comics has in store for NYX. From the shadows comes Wolverine. Every day, mutants are being stolen off the streets of Manhattan, unprotected and forgotten by the human world. Now, a war-worn Wolverine will descend into New York City's criminal underworld and bring them back into the light. Another interesting thing to note about NYX is how the name of the comic book series almost references the seedy underbelly of the Marvel Universe. In that way, I find it incredibly tonally appropriate that the character of Wolverine is the one battling some of the more murky, crime-infested streets of New York City in this brand new series. Who is the mysterious mutant fixer known as Local? Can Laura stand alone against the dangerous forces working to control the future of New York's mutants? What reality-bending threats waits in the nights already 10 steps ahead? The shadows of NYX are calling. What secrets will you find lurking in that neon darkness? Laura's comic book spotlight comes just as the character, also known by the codename X-23, makes her big return to the movies in Deadpool and Wolverine, where she's played once again by Daphne Keane. NYX issue 1 is on sale right now, and it looks like the second issue is set to be released August 28th. Okay, give me just a moment here, and we're gonna preview the future of what NYX has in store for the Marvel Universe. Okay, so this is actually the fourth cover of NYX. We recently saw this previewed, I believe, over on XMen Monday. Let's go ahead and check out the solicit and see how the mysterious Krakoan character is really threatening so much of our cast members here. Genius, student, New Mutant, Young Avenger, X-Man. As Prodigy, David Alain has been all things and more, but now he faces his most difficult challenge yet. Facing down his past and looking his present in the eye, Prodigy must fight to understand what mutant culture really means to those left behind by Krakoa, and how far he'll go to protect the mutants of New York City from a devastating and dangerous conspiracy of their own. Yeah, with each issue of NYX spotlighting one member of this super fascinating cast, I'm really happy to hear that we're going to be getting our Prodigy issue very soon over at Marvel. I really liked in the first chapter of NYX how Sophie Cuckoo got the opportunity to test some of David's knowledge and the way he taught the brand new Krakoa class over at Empire State University. Plus, some of the other team dynamics in the issue really started to take shape as the first issue drew to a close. We already referenced a little bit of the animosity towards Kamala Khan as well as Laura Kinney, but I was also really interested in the relationship that started forming between Sophie and Kamala in the comic book issue. One thing we haven't touched on yet in regards to NYX2 is the mysterious QR code and all the villains surrounding the comic book tale. It's super interesting to me that this series is so connected to Grant Morrison's new X-Men with the Cuckoo characters, and I'm super interested to see Sophie maybe come to a big confrontation with the rest of these characters as NYX continues as well. So, really fantastic stuff over for this new series. Just like X-Force, I feel like NYX is working with so many plot threads over at Marvel Comics, and I'm just super excited too about some of the character first interactions with the tale. Sophie's upcoming issue of NYX should be so much fun here as that series develops. Okay, so that was our look at the present and future of NYX. Very excited to check out the brand new issue of that series over in August. And without further ado, let's go ahead and switch into the future of Marvel Comics from the Ashes line for the X-Men property. Next week's comic book is actually X-Force issue number 1. We have a brand new preview of the comic book over from Brian Cronin at CBR.com. Let's go ahead and check in on the new era of the team spearheaded by Forge. Marvel continues its From the Ashes relaunch of the X-Men with the release of its latest brand new series X-Force, which debuts next week. CBR has an exclusive preview of the first mission by this new team put together by Forge. X-Force number 1 is from writer Jeffrey Thorne, artist Marcus To, colorist Eric Arcienega, and letterer Joe Caramagna, and debuts a brand new mission of the long-standing X-Men team known as X-Force. This time, the mutant genius Forge, whose mutant superpower is the ability... Let's see here... Forge, whose mutant superpower is the ability to create pretty much anything, has created a device that warns him about dangers to the universe that need to be fixed. Since they need to be fixed quickly, there is no time to use diplomacy, hence Forge forming a secretive strike force to achieve his goals. The trick is that even Forge doesn't know what the problem is until he's actually on the scene. The roster of the team is fluid, depending on the mission in question. Deadpool guest stars in this first issue, but the core members of the team are Forge, Sage, Betsy Braddock, and Rachel Summers. Very happy that Deadpool is only a guest star in the first chapter of the new X-Force, and as we already mentioned here, we have a super fascinating team dynamic with characters like Forge, who played such a big role during the Krakoan age of Marvel Comics. We have Sage coming off the last X-Force team, and Betsy and Rachel really establishing their romance as a couple in the wake of Krakoa too. Let's check out our solicit on X-Force issue 1. A new path forged. The world is fractured. Forge uses his powers of invention to devise the only fix in all-new, all-different X-Force. Forge leads a custom-made, hand-picked team of mutants: Rachel Summers, Betsy Braddock, Sage, Surge, and introducing Tank. So we have a brand new character, a brand new mutant joining the ranks of X-Force, known as Tank here, who we'll preview in our upcoming interior pages here as well. So these mutants are in missions that are off the books and so dire, so integral to the fate of the Marvel Universe, there's no time to stop for permission. As Forge detects increasing threats across the planet, he will recruit a specialist for each target. First up, the regenerating degenerate Deadpool. Be here for an X-Force like you've never seen them before. Stick around to see who joins, who lives, who dies, and uncover the mystery of Forge's discovery. Let's go ahead and check in on some of the interior pages for X-Force 1. This is our cover, which I think is so striking and is able to depict so many aspects of the cast with really interesting character dynamics and costumes here. Here's the credits page designed by Jay Bowen previewing our creative team. We have writer Jeffrey Thorne, artist Marcus To, colors by Eric Arcienega, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. Really loving some of the preview pages over from Marcus To. Once again here we get an incredibly visually dynamic sequence with our characters set over in Japan as Sage begins to interact with Forge. With some of the narrative backdrop, we get a really interesting dynamic with Sage assessing Forge as a superhero throughout the comic book tale. And on the next page, we even get a preview of some of the interesting upgrades that Forge was able to implement in these brand new X-Force designs. The boots are laced with artificial vibranium and Forge Tech patents. It eats vibration, redistributes kinetic energy to our suits. Yeah, another really interesting dynamic about some of these pages is how artist Marcus To is able to arrange them and show just so much motion across each and every panel. On this next page, we also get Betsy, Braddock, and Rachel joining the cast of these X-Men characters, and we already get tons of references towards some of their psychic powers and this really interesting psi blocker that Forge is wearing over in the comic book tale as well. This next preview brings in some of the interesting elements of comic books like Immortal X-Men into the forefront here. Watching the backstory with how individuals like Betsy Braddock and Rachel got recruited to this brand new team of X-Force is super fascinating. This page also previews some of the brand new tech over for the character of Forge. Afro SF, so good to have you aboard here. Greetings, Arakko Braddock. Your enthusiasm for these new X-books is infectious. I might check out more than just Eve Ewing's X-book. As mentioned earlier, Eve Ewing's X-book is the one that I am most excited for, with Exceptional X-Men coming very, very soon over, featuring Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost, watching over a brand new team of X-Men characters. Also, I'm very excited about this upcoming issue of X-Force. I think so far a lot of the Marvel Comics launches over with NYX and X-Force has been a resounding success here. The interior pages from Marcus To on this new volume of X-Men is just absolutely phenomenal here. I'm really hoping for something interesting as we move into this brand new era of X-Force. Also, we have a page featuring almost the entire cast of X-Force here, between Betsy and Rachel talking with Forge and Sage as well. Also, I like how Betsy brings up the fact that Ascani and Betsy both utilize, psychic technology too much across this X-Men run and are going to have to use something a little bit different to communicate with the rest of the team here. Let's go ahead and check out the end of this article and preview our next news story. Betsy Braddock is the hero formerly known as Psylocke and is currently Captain Britain. She has recently started a romantic relationship with her fellow telepathic superhero, Rachel Summers. In the preview pages, we see Forge and Sage literally leap into action as we discover that Forge's genius has allowed him to create an artificial form of Wakandan vibranium that allows them to have the abilities that Black Panther has in his suits. Sage and Forge are an interesting pair as Forge can create everything he can think of, while Sage, as she notes in these pages, thinks of everything. We then get a flashback to Forge recruiting Betsy and Rachel to the team. Betsy is resistant to the idea, but Rachel was all in, and Betsy decides to follow her girlfriend's lead. The preview ends with a shocking cliffhanger as we see X-Force encounter something shocking. Whatever it is, we'll just have to wait until next week to find out. When I was checking out that preview, I was really lost as to what some of the ambitions and ultimate goals for the brand new team of X-Force is on their opening mission here. So I'm really excited to figure out what these X-Force characters are going to be battling in some future installments. Plus, I'm interested to see what characters like Surge are going to bring to the dynamic of X-Force here in the near future. Also, I'm loving the fact that Marvel has refreshed the creative team on this with Jeffrey Thorne and Marcus To. I really liked what the last era of X-Force did for Krakoa and some of those characters, but I'm loving the fact that this brand new era of X-Force feels so different and unique from the last one. Let's go ahead and check out what the future of X-Force is going to look like in the brand new solicit from Marvel. And then we will actually jump right into some brand new Amazing Spider-Man news. Leonard McFarland says, I'm very disappointed with the art on the X-Men books. I would love to know why. I feel like we've gotten a ton of great art so far with Francesco Mortarino on NYX. I think Ryan Stegman has done a fairly good job accommodating the really visceral script as well over from Jed McKay on X-Men 1. Okay, here is the upcoming issue of X-Force. This is chapter 4 of the series written by Jeffrey Thorne, featuring artwork from Marcus Toe, and we have a cover from Steven Segovia. Man-Thing strikes as the nexus of all realities is at stake. The nexus of all realities is in danger, meaning if X-Force can't seal this fracture node, they've got more to worry about than just one Earth. What extra-dimensional forces stand ready to take down Forge's team? And the Nexus's guardian, the Man-Thing, is he friend or foe? The all-new X-Force series continues to turn up the heat, and wait till you see what we're cooking. Already, X-Force is changing up the cast here, and we're featuring Man-Thing over in this brand new installment of the series here. Also, the visual elements of the series are changing really dramatically too, as we have artist Steven Segovia lending a cover on this installment here. Plus, we have Clayton Crane illustrating this cover featuring the X-Men character known as Tank. There's a lot of talk about the plot in this solicit here. We get a reference to X-Force trying to seal a fracture node, and they've got more to worry about than just one Earth. This issue hints that there may be some extra-dimensional forces as well, causing some panic over for our X-Force characters. Also, I think this cover from Juan Ferreira is so striking here and brings out so many aspects of our X-Force characters in really visually distinctive ways. I would love to see Juan Ferreira maybe draw some interiors on a future issue of X-Force and continue to illustrate some of the variant covers here as well. Really fantastic stuff over on Marvel's latest issue of X-Force. Let's go ahead and see what they have for the future of Amazing Spider-Man. Currently, Marvel Comics is dealing with the end of author Zeb Wells' ongoing Amazing Spider-Man series. This run has been going for a considerable amount of time now, and with the end of Amazing Spider-Man looming, author Zeb Wells is really trying to go out with a bang. Across so many issues of this series, we saw Peter Parker and Norman Osborn establish a friendship for nearly several dozen comic book series. And now at Amazing Spider-Man 50, Zeb Wells dissolved the relationship between these two individuals, featuring Norman Osborn establishing some of the sins of the Goblin back into Peter Parker and turning him into the villainous Spider-Goblin. Today we're going to preview the 54th issue of Marvel Comics' Amazing Spider-Man Plus. We're also going to take a look at the upcoming solicits for some of the last issues of the Zeb Wells run. Following this, we're also going to look at what Joe Kelly is bringing in for the future of the Amazing Spider-Man property as well. We have tons of Spider-Man news to go ahead and get into today. Let's start by talking about Amazing Spider-Man 54. Want to give a big thank you over to Adventures in Poor Taste and check out the solicit on this upcoming issue. The mind-blazing conclusion of Easy being green. The Sinister Six will try to fight, but they should run. Who could possibly put a stop to Peter Parker's spree of mayhem and destruction? Hint, no one. Want to give a quick thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste and read off some of the members of our creative team here. Of course, this issue of Spider-Man still written by Zeb Wells, featuring the entire issue's interiors accommodated from Ed McGuinness. We have a ton of inkers on Amazing Spider-Man 54 with Mark Farmer, Mark Morales, Wade Von Graubadger, and Ed McGuinness. Colors by Marcio Menis, and letters from VC's Joe Caramagna. Plus the cover that we looked at earlier was from Ed McGuinness, Mark Farmer, and Marcio Menis. So in the last installment of Spider-Man, we saw Peter Parker really become infested with so many of the sins of the Goblin and end up in a really horrific fight against Norman Osborn. Both Norman and Peter are fighting back against their Goblin-influenced ways, but Peter Parker is ultimately the one who's ending up getting it twisted here in his battle against Norman. Really like some of the interior pages here coming in from Ed McGuinness, and also the way he's able to illustrate each and every page of the layouts here on his Spider-Man run. We have an incredibly climactic sequence here between Norman and Peter, with Peter currently infested by the Goblin sins, saying, "Look at me, I did this, I beat Spider-Man, and now I am Spider-Man." We have Norman turning to the camera saying, "I hated you, I've always hated you," seemingly talking to himself over in the comic book series as well, with his Goblin sins. And on this last panel on the page, which is also designed in a really interesting way, we get a look at the walking brain, with his head seemingly dislocated with his body, and him just saying the words ZZT. We have a ton of Spider-Man's allies in the background trying to save him, but the characters kind of closed themselves off in a previous installment, so Kamala Khan is desperately trying to save Peter from himself. We also have Dr. Kurt Connors and Rekrap dealing with some of the fallout from the previous installment as well, with Rekrap unsure if he has multiple hearts or not in the comic book series. Then on these final two panels, we also have Kraven the Hunter conspiring with characters like J. Jonah Jameson, really warning them about how dangerous the Spider-Man can be in all these different contexts as well. So super fascinating stuff for the Amazing Spider-Man. For me, it feels like this series needs to resolve the Spider-Goblin arc and also tell a final story involving Norman and Peter's relationship to maybe set the status quo back to where it was. And then in the future final issues of Spider-Man, we also have to see Tombstone and Peter Parker and some of their animosity as well. Okay, so that's going to be our preview of Amazing Spider-Man 54. We're going to have a full review probably this Thursday up on the channel. Very excited about some of the final throws of this tale. And let's take a look about what the future of Amazing Spider-Man actually looks like. So this is chapter 59 of Amazing Spider-Man, featuring a big battle between Spider-Man and Tombstone that we also just hinted at recently. The mano-a-mano fight that started last issue is so huge, it took over the cover. Come see John Romita Jr. do what he does best with the most brutal fight in Spider-Man history. We have Spider-Man versus Tombstone. Yeah, I think the cover on this issue of Spider-Man is incredibly beautiful, features a super tense fight between Tombstone and Spider-Man as well. So this is actually the final issue of Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man issue 60 here. Want to go ahead and check out the solicit for this chapter as well. Special oversized finale. Zeb Wells says goodbye to the Amazing Spider-Man in style with his collaborators John Romita Jr., Ed Guinness, and some other special surprise guests. When one era ends, another begins, as the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man get a special prelude by Joe Kelly. Yeah, I just wanted to spend a couple moments spotlighting this cover on Amazing Spider-Man. I feel like this is a super climactic issue illustrated over by John Romita Jr. on the page here. I'm also taking a look at how the webs are wrapping over Spider-Man's hand, and I'm just really impressed by everything that I see here on the page. I think the way Spider-Man is arranged also just shows him in a really incredible and just honest way here on the page. So super interested to see where Amazing Spider-Man is headed next over at Marvel Comics. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and I will be right back. Okay, so we just previewed the end of what Zeb Wells has in store for the Amazing Spider-Man here. I think Zeb Wells' run on Amazing Spider-Man just before we move into the next story was an incredible run over on the series, and I think just the way that he was able to utilize the sins of the Green Goblin and the relationship between Norman and Peter has really fueled so many fantastic issues and is accommodating a really interesting sense of long-term storytelling. Just moving forward, I'm really hoping that Joe Kelly is going to bring a very similar tone to the series. As I already mentioned in a previous video that we had up on the channel, I think Joe Kelly brought some of that same sensibility when he was writing some of his Brand New Day issues on Amazing Spider-Man. So I really think that he should naturally be able to follow what Zeb Wells is doing on the property. Also, due to the fact that Marvel Comics isn't renumbering Amazing Spider-Man either, and we're sticking with this same volume of Amazing Spider-Man, I have a really good feeling that a lot of those plot threads are going to be established there really nicely. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our very first San Diego Comic-Con news story from 2024. This is the future of the Amazing Spider-Man with the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man coming in from Marvel Comics just yesterday. 8 Deaths of Spider-Man Saga debuts a Doom-inspired suit. As Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Doom grants Spider-Man 8 extra lives to serve a higher purpose in this new Amazing Spider-Man storyline. I already mentioned the fact that I love Joe Kelly as a writer here. Joe Kelly accomplished such incredible work with the I Kill Giants series. He's already written some really strong Spider-Man stories in Brand New Day. This run should be an absolute knockout. I'm just really hoping I like this brand new scenario that he's been able to craft for Spider-Man. Let's go ahead and see what Marvel Comics has in store for the latest issues of Spider-Man here. Each year at San Diego Comic-Con, fans gather at the Next Big Thing panel to discover the biggest shakeups coming to Marvel Comics. This year was no different. In addition to revealing a teaser for One World Under Doom, a new status quo coming to the Marvel Universe following Blood Hunt, Editor-in-Chief CB Cebulski and a host of Marvel creators announced exciting new series, teased upcoming storylines, and debuted trailers. By the way, you didn't miss anything. Marvel Comics actually just announced their next big event at San Diego 2. It is indeed One World Under Doom and will be taking place following the current Blood Hunt storyline. Among the series announced was Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness's Eight Deaths of Spider-Man, a bold saga coming to the pages of Amazing Spider-Man starting in November, which will debut a new Doom-inspired suit. I feel like this is a really selfish request on my end, but I love the fact that Ed McGuinness is staying aboard the main Amazing Spider-Man series, even in light of a new creator. Usually, I like for Marvel Comics to rotate their artists on Spider-Man, but I just love so much of what Ed McGuinness brings in terms of the facial expressions and just the fight sequences across the tale, too. I always love the way that he's able to depict some of Spider-Man's emotions, even despite the fact that his face is covered, and think that so much of his line just really should accommodate the tone that both Wells and Joe Kelly will bring to Spider-Man as well, with that more sort of jokey aesthetic accommodated with some interesting, like, dark underpinning as well. The Eight Deaths of Spider-Man begin. The world has changed. Doctor Doom is Sorcerer Supreme, but he has no plans to spend his time like his predecessor. Each year, Doctor Strange would use every ounce of his power and experience to save the world from an evil god and his scions. This year, Doom is delegating this task to Spider-Man. The leader of Latveria has given Spider-Man a true magic-powered suit and 8 extra lives to save the world. True believer, they won't be good enough. So we already referenced the fact that Marvel Comics is continuing the numbering in Spider-Man, with issue 61 being one of the first chapters of Eight Deaths of Spider-Man. This cover is so incredible. The sense of perspective that Doom is bringing to the book, with almost skyscrapers featured like in both of his hands here, is just so visually interesting. Plus the way that Spider-Man's anatomy is so exaggerated in this really interesting way, also just brings out so much of my imagination on the page. It looks like this cover is also illustrated by the wonderful Ed McGuinness, so happy to see that he's bringing his interiors to the series. It looks like this one is on sale November 13th. And this cover is really epic too. I think this features a new look for Spider-Man in his Doctor Doom-inspired suit here. Once again, I think this is a super visually dynamic cover coming in from Ed McGuinness. The way that he's able to capture these lines on Spider-Man's suit really illustrate a sense of emotion, even once again, despite the fact that his mouth is covered on the page here as well. This issue is coming on sale November 27th, so it looks like Spider-Man is still double shipping in the wake of them moving to a new creator. We have a couple more sketch designs coming in from Ed McGuinness. I always like how these designs justify some of the elements that the artists have chosen on the page. For instance, on this sketch, we get a gem countdown on chest and an angular Doom eye. So this shows just some of the ways that Ed McGuinness is bringing some interesting new visual twists over to Spider-Man. We also have Kirby-style Doom hands. Leonard McFarlane says, "You seem to be the only person enjoying Zeb Wells' Spider-Man." I am very confident in that. Spider Spawn. It does look a little bit like Spider Spawn with the way that the red kind of scarf is accommodating the rest of Spider-Man's outfit as well here. So this is one of our first big news stories over from San Diego Comic-Con, previewing the future of what Marvel Comics has in store for Spider-Man. Very excited to see what Joe Kelly is bringing here with the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. I'm very happy to see that he's taken on such a big and heady event storyline. Also, I am thrilled by the fact that Ed McGuinness is staying aboard the interiors on this series as well. We probably have a lot to be excited about here, and November is just a few months away. Okay, let's go ahead and check out our next upcoming news story from San Diego Comic-Con. This one is also a ton of fun. It features Jerry Duggan working with some of his plot threads over from Iron Man as well as the previous Krakoan era with Marvel Comics, but expanding it out in a really interesting way. Plus, we have artist Danny Kim joining him. Jerry Duggan and Danny Kim's new West Coast Avengers series sees Iron Man and War Machine put together a new team, including Ultron. West Coast Avengers recruits Ultron. So here it is. This is the brand new era of Marvel Comics, West Coast Avengers featuring Ultron, Spider-Woman, Iron Man, War Machine, and who I think is the most interesting person on this cover, Firestar, who's coming in from a successful battle against Orcus in some of the final Krakoan issues of Marvel Comics. Very happy to see Marvel Comics returning to the West Coast Avengers team, and I'm very happy with Jerry Duggan as a writer currently at the publisher as well. Let's preview what he's bringing aboard in this brand new news article from Marvel. Each year at San Diego Comic-Con, fans gather at the Next Big Thing panel to discover the biggest shakeups coming to Marvel Comics. This year was no different. In addition to revealing a teaser for One World Under Doom, I promise you we will be checking out the brand new Marvel Comics news article on that in just a second. A new status quo coming to the Marvel Universe following Blood Hunt. Editor-in-Chief C.B. Cebulski and a host of Marvel creators announced exciting new series, teased upcoming storylines, and debuted trailers. Among the series announced was West Coast Avengers, where writer Jerry Duggan and artist Danny Kim fire up this iconic team with the superstar lineup of Earth's mightiest heroes, including a seemingly redeemed Ultron. Ultron returns redeemed. Iron Man and War Machine have put together a new team of Avengers, one that includes villains seeking a path to redemption, their case study Ultron, who against all odds seems to be walking the straight and narrow for now. But does the success of one guarantee the success of all? Spider-Man and Spider-Woman and Firestar have had their doubts. And can any moment of heroics really absolve Ultron of his past? Yeah, when I look over at the really past history of Ultron, I'm really struggling to find a way for him to be able to redeem a lot of what he's done as a villain across Marvel Comics. Stories like Ultron Unlimited are coming to mind right away at the publisher, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to set his past aside and operate with heroes like Iron Man moving forward. Okay, so this series has covers from Ben Harvey. I think that Ben Harvey cover that we just checked out is amazing. We have a variant as well from Danny Kim, and this is another comic book that's launching on November 27th. So here's our variant cover referencing the really classic New Avengers cover from Brian Bendis and I believe David Finch. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Yeah, really liking the interesting cast of heroes assembled on this new cover. Once again, having Spider-Woman on an Avengers team feels just incredibly interesting, as does heroes like Firestar and Ultron. Also, really happy to see Jerry Duggan sticking with some of the Iron Man and X-Men characters that he's accommodated in his recent years over at Marvel. I feel like so much of the product that he's released has been really phenomenal between comic books like Invincible Iron Man and Uncanny Avengers. So thrilled to see what he's bringing aboard this brand new series. Let's talk about the next news story over from San Diego Comic-Con. This is also a super exciting one, previewing the future of the Ultimate Comics universe. Marvel Comics actually has some big shakeups aboard and a brand new comic book series. Ultimate Universe 1 year in sets the stage for year 2. In addition to setting up the second year of the Ultimate line, Ultimate Universe 1 year in number 1 includes the debut of the Ultimate versions of 2 major Marvel characters. So for me so far, I feel like the Ultimate line has been really narrow in its focus. For me, the standout book to date really has been Ultimate X-Men, but I'm still waiting for Ultimate X-Men to collide with a lot of the continuity involving the Maker and the Maker's Council spread out across the line. One comic book that I think has done an excellent job tapping into the heart of the Maker and the mysterious disappearance of him is none other than the current Ultimate series by Dennis Camp. This brand new Ultimate Universe one-shot is actually featured writing from him as well. So let's see what he's bringing aboard this brand new era of Ultimates. Let's see. In addition to revealing a teaser for One World Under Doom, a new status quo for the Marvel Universe, I think we already read that paragraph actually. Among the series announced was Ultimate Universe 1 Year In #1, a special one-shot finale to the first year of Marvel's hit new Ultimate line. It has been 1 year since the villainous Maker was locked away and the Ultimate Universe was left in the hands of his villainous council. And in that time, heroes around the world have risen up, determined to fix his broken world. Now, with 1 year left under their leader's return, the Maker's Council launches a bold plan to wipe out the heroes. This oversized one-shot sets the stage for the second year of the Ultimate line and includes the debut of the Ultimate versions of two major Ultimate characters. We've gotten the tease of the Maker's Council as far back to Ultimate Invasion that actually kicked off this new line of Ultimate series. I am loving the incredibly long-form way that Marvel Comics has been brewing this upcoming storyline for the publisher. Also, getting this one-shot referencing the fact that the Ultimate Universe has been in publication for a year feels incredibly climactic to the rest of the universe at this point. In the background of some of these comic books, we've seen Moon Knight battling the forces, we've seen Black Panther battling the forces of Moon Knight. We've seen Tony Stark take on Captain Britain, and magic popping up in the background of some of these tales too. So lots of stuff still left to go here in this initial story kicking off the Ultimate Universe. This one is written by Dennis Camp and features a cover from Stefano Caselli as well. Here it is, Ultimate Universe 1 Year In. This one is set to go on sale here in December. I'm really hoping Marvel will be able to accommodate at least some of the plot threads from Ultimate X-Men. We get the character of Sunfire here as well in the background of the book, but I'm also hoping maybe they'll bring in another character or just additional elements from that tale as well. Okay, so tons to be excited about here. Very happy about the future of the Ultimate Comics line. Now, we've previewed the new Marvel Comics event relentlessly across so much of our San Diego Comic-Con coverage today. Let's go ahead and talk about Marvel Comics' One World Under Doom storyline coming in from San Diego Comic-Con here. So it looks like One World Under Doom is slated to begin in 2025, and this is the comic book event that will transition us out of Blood Hunt and into the future of what Marvel Comics has in store. Just announced at the Marvel Comics Next Big Thing panel at San Diego Comic-Con, One World Under Doom begins in 2025. Discover why the Marvel Universe submits to Doctor Doom next week in Blood Hunt #5, and stay tuned in the months ahead for more information on this startling development for the future of Marvel Comics. So we just recently read that Doom got a power upgrade across a recent Marvel Comics issue, so I think it's going to be super thrilling to watch him utilize some of his power in the upcoming storyline. Plus, this one is going to be set up by the Blood Hunt event, is previewed as well by this article. So very interested in what a brand new Doctor Doom event could dispel to the Marvel Universe. I'm also a little bit interested too if some of these creators are going to bring something different than what we saw in the 2015 event called Secret Wars, where Doctor Doom was able to get so much of his power across the Marvel Universe. I think this teaser image, though, is very beautiful. And just the graphic design with some of the logos and the way Doctor Doom is manifesting his powers in the background is super fascinating. We also have so many of the magic users of the Marvel Universe and other heroes taking a knee here as well. Rez says the rest of the universe is just chillin' law. Indeed, indeed. Really interesting stuff here for One World Under Doom. I'm really hoping moving forward that Marvel Comics will be able to create a really compelling scenario for this, and I'm very thrilled to see who the creative team is moving forward. There we go. That is the One World Under Doom storyline coming soon over at Marvel. So here is the next one. This is an all-new TVA comic book series that Marvel announced just yesterday as well. This one is launching in December, featuring Catherine Blair and Pere Perez's TVA, assembling a new team of heroes to protect all timelines. AfroSF says, I love the current Ultimate Universe. Ultimate X-Men 5 was one of the best issues so far from that line of books. AfroSF, I completely agree. I think the way that we got to see Peach Momoko craft some of the scenarios for Ultimate X-Men was super thrilling. Watching Hisako collide with Surge across that comic book was super thrilling. And I also thought the way that the Shadow King was brewing, some of his battle over with Hisako in the background of that tale was also so interesting to read there. Let's check out what's happening over in December with the upcoming TVA storyline featuring Catherine Blair and Pere Perez. The Time Variance Authority is under new management. This December, behold the adventures of the agency tasked with upholding the time stream in TVA. Just announced by Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and Marvel Comics editor-in-chief C.B. Cebulski at the Marvel Fanfare panel at San Diego Comic-Con, TVA will be a 5-issue limited comic book series written by Marvel Studios Loki writer Catherine Blair and drawn by acclaimed Marvel artist Pere Perez. First off, I think it's pretty interesting to note that Catherine Blair is coming in from Marvel Studios Loki project, and then we're also getting Pere Perez, who's just an incredibly experienced Marvel artist at this point. The series will represent an evolution to Marvel Comics' version of the TVA as it's blended with its Marvel Cinematic Universe counterpart as depicted in the Disney Plus series Loki and Deadpool and Wolverine. The series will mark the Marvel Comics debut of various MCU characters, including Loki breakout star Miss Minutes. The mysterious all-knowing entity who keeps the TVA ticking like clockwork will recruit a new band of heroes charged with monitoring and regulating all realities and timelines. Join Ghost Spider and other universe-displaced entities, including Captain Carter, a heartbroken Remy LeBeau, and more as they're sent throughout the multiverse on vital missions to repair wild temporal anomalies and keep reality itself from shattering. I love this idea, shared Kevin Feige. It's just as cool for us to see our work in comics as it is to bring the work of comic book creators to the big screen. This cover captured so much of my imagination as we have heroes across the Marvel Universe like Ghost Spider, Remy LeBeau, Captain Carter, and we also have some of these MCU-inspired characters too, like Miss Minutes over on the cover. Pepe Larraz is such an amazing creator at Marvel Comics, but the way this cover is laid out and just arranged here really captures so much of my wild imagination. The way that Remy LeBeau is just sitting here on like the left side of the page is so arresting. And also these mysterious otherworldly versions of Miss Minutes and other characters that we have on the very bottom of the cover is also really striking. I am hoping that writer Catherine Blair will be able to evoke, a storyline that's as evocative here as the beautiful cover illustrated from Pepe Larraz. I've never seen an MCU collaboration look so interesting quite as this one here as well. Okay, this one is set to release over in December from Marvel Comics. Very excited to see what the publisher is bringing aboard this tale. Let's head over to DC Comics for just a few moments and talk about the brand new Absolute Green Lantern series. For me, this is super, super thrilling because author Al Ewing is actually redefining the Green Lantern property over at DC Comics. This also was announced yesterday over at San Diego Comic-Con and is coming in from Tiffany Babb at Popverse. For those who are sitting at the edges of their seats to find out more about DC Comics' upcoming Absolute plans, another piece of the puzzle has just dropped. At the Jim Lee and Friends panel at San Diego Comic-Con, Scott Snyder has just announced a new Absolute Green Lantern series helmed by Al Ewing and Janoy Lindsay. According to Snyder, it's a complete reimagination of the property, as good as Immortal Hulk and the best thing Ewing has ever done. As for what fans can expect out of the series will be a first contact story, and characters who've been named in the series so far are John Stewart, Hal Jordan, and Far Sector's Joe Moline. Okay, let's quickly pause this news story and talk about all the exciting developments that have dropped. First, hearing Al Ewing say that this upcoming Green Lantern series is going to be as good and as big as Immortal Hulk, and that according to Scott Snyder, it's one of the best things Ewing has ever done. That is amazing. That is incredible to hear. Also, I'm loving the fact that in addition to John Stewart, we also have, of course, Hal Jordan. But the interesting thing that really kind of shakes up some of what Al Ewing is bringing aboard Green Lantern is the fact that we have Far Sector's Joe Moline. They're saying even though it's a reimagining, this series will stay true to the idea that folks turn will to power to bring light to darkness. So we have a little bit more of the thematic elements as well. Through the pitch, let's see, though the pitch was immediately greenlit by DC Editorial 2 years ago, my goodness, there have been no details yet to come as to when fans can expect to see the first issue being set to hit shelves. More to come. Yeah, for me, this could be really big. Al Ewing has such a great track record when it comes to Marvel Comics. I think X-Men Red was one of my favorite series over in the Krakoan line, and just the idea of him taking a more space-oriented superhero like Green Lantern at DC Comics could be potentially huge. Also, I'd love it if he was able to work with some of the continuity of the other books, like the ongoing Green Lantern series as well, which I think has been pretty phenomenal so far at the publisher. Really fantastic to hear that Al Ewing is coming aboard DC's Absolute line, and very excited to see what he's going to bring to the future of the Green Lantern property. In addition to everything we've already talked about, there was one teaser at Marvel Comics that actually wasn't even featured over on their website, but we got directly from popverse.com. Marvel Comics actually revealed there's some big changes coming to the Fantastic Four in 2025. After a mysterious tease at the Diamond Comics Distributors Lunch at San Diego Comic-Con, we foresee big things in the future. The Fantastic Four are going to be big in 2025, thanks in no small part due to Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four movie. As part of that, Marvel Comics is beginning to roll out a multi-pronged approach to their Fantastic Four comics, including an apparent countdown to a big change for the team. At a closed-door retailer event organized by Diamond Comics Distributors, Marvel Comics unveiled a teaser image showcasing the classic Fantastic Four logo, but with it counting down from 4 to 0. Marvel staff didn't provide any other details on this, but expect Marvel to roll more out on this in late 2024 and 2025. I think at this stage, Marvel could really do a big shakeup with their Fantastic Four property. They've had that series in publication for a long time now, and even though I know it's a fan favorite among a lot of readers at the publisher, I think it probably would boost sales and interest for them to do a little bit of a shakeup. Maybe removing a big member of the team like Reed or Sue for a brief period of time could get some eyes on the property. But for me, I'm hoping it's something a little bit more different and more radical of the series. I always like it when they change some of the cast of the Fantastic Four and think that the FF series from Matt Fraction was wonderful. I'd love to see a return to some of the kooky elements of that story and maybe to have a sister book to the Fantastic Four yet again at the publisher. I'm just happy to see that they're trying something different with Fantastic Four because I haven't been quite as excited to read that series, and I feel like changing or just shaping up continuity in a different way could really, really help fan interest for the Fantastic Four series. Okay, we're going to go ahead and head back over to DC Comics. We got a huge, brand new news story. For a long time now, the Justice League has been off the board at DC Comics, and it looks like the publisher is looking to finally return to their premier superhero team, even in the wake of the brand new Titans being led by Nightwing. This one was published yesterday by Will Salmon at Newsarama. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and more DC heroes joined forces to restore the Justice League in a new ongoing series from Kingdom Come writer Mark Waid. Plus, DC announces a new Absolute Flash ongoing series. The Justice League has been absent from the DC universe for quite some time now, having disbanded during DC's 2022 Dark Crisis event. Still, you can't keep a good superhero team down, and with the events of absolute power causing chaos worldwide, it's time for the heroes to get their act together and save the day. Announced yesterday at DC's Absolute Power panel at San Diego Comic-Con, the Justice League is in a new ongoing series by Mark Waid and Dan Mora that will unite DC's biggest heroes once more. For me, this is a little bit disappointing because I love the idea of DC heading in a new direction with the Titans property, with Nightwing right at the forefront. The idea of bringing Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman back into continuity in a big Justice League book and making DC match more up with its status quo cinematic version isn't quite as exciting to me, but at least we have Mark Waid and Dan Mora to transition us back to the status quo for the Justice League. Hopefully, they have a really big and interesting story to make this new era of Justice League stand out from so many previous installments. The lineup for this new Justice League is made up of DC's heaviest hitters: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash, plus the likes of Martian Manhunter, Captain Atom, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire. Of course, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, not very exciting, but I love Martian Manhunter, Captain Atom, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire. I feel like they could definitely shake up the dynamic of your traditional Justice League book. What's more, the new series will see the return of a classic comics location in a new and improved form. Yes, this version of the League will have a satellite watchtower, with Mora showing some early designs for the base, highlighted docking stations, quarters of solitude, a boom tube, and a portal to the Phantom Zone. I love that. I love that idea that they're going back to the kind of core of the DC universe and to so many elements that made the Justice League successful in the first place. Above, you can see the cover art for the first issue, which also reveals that Darkseid will play a part in the new book. Scott Snyder recently confirmed in the announcement video for DC's new All-In initiative that it would restore the Lord of Apocalypse to his role as the greatest villain in the DC universe. Readers previously saw the character of Darkseid take on like a much different role in previous DC Comics initiatives, so I think once again here establishing him as the bad guy, as the antagonist for this Justice League book is definitely the way to go. Also, I'm hoping that characters like Star Sapphire will bring a bit of a different character dynamic to this title. This is going to have like really explored character elements with heroes like Batman and Superman. being in almost every single Justice League comic book series to date so far. In case you were wondering, Justice League Unlimited will take place in the core DC universe, rather than the recently announced Absolute Universe. Speaking of that alternate timeline, however, the panel also revealed what the fourth book in DC's big new publishing line will be. Following Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, and Absolute Wonder Woman will be Absolute Flash, an ongoing series written by Sweet Tooth creator Jeff Lemire and primarily drawn by Nick Robles. At this time, it's unclear if the series will focus on Barry Allen, Wally West, or an entirely different incarnation of the Scarlet Speedster. Yeah, for me, I would really hope that this book would focus on, maybe Wally West, maybe a different version of Wally West, or a different Flash character at DC Comics entirely. If DC is taking on this brand new absolute universe with totally different continuity, I want to see them push their publishing line to the limit, just like Marvel Comics. I want to see them explore different superheroes. Instead of seeing, Batman as Bruce Wayne, I would love it if we got to see maybe Alfred or Nightwing or some other character. And in light of DC still choosing Bruce Wayne as their premier absolute Batman, I want them to take as many chances as possible with the rest of the line. Okay, so that's DC's return to the Justice League. We also have a ton of brand new X-Men comics that we didn't get a chance to preview over on our last stream. Let's go ahead and check in with the X-Men series over in October. We have a lot of exciting books on sale this month with the main adjectiveless X-Men series by Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman. We also have the Phoenix book with Alessandro Miraclo and Stephanie Phillips, and a new preview of what characters like Wolverine are set to experience. Let's go ahead and check out the covers and story details for X-Men titles on sale this October. The mutant landscape of the Marvel Universe has changed dramatically. With the fall of Krakoa, the new From the Ashes era is on the horizon. Home to new team books and solo series, each embracing different missions and methods to survive a world that fears them now more than ever, harkening back to classic X-Men storytelling while embracing the franchise's modern evolution. From the Ashes is an exciting fresh start for longtime fans and newcomers alike. October will be a thrilling month for X-Men readers as the From the Ashes era's most prominent threats make their appearance. Two mutant icons begin new solo adventures in Storm and Mystique. A team of mutant-hunting cyborgs make their debut in Sentinels, and much more. Here's what we can look forward to. So this is Storm Issue 1, written by Murewa Ayodele, featuring artwork by Lucas Wernick, and featuring an incredibly striking cover here from Matheus Manhanini. This one is on sale October 2nd. First off, I want to say here that Murewa Ayodele worked on that excellent I Am Iron Man comic book series. Lucas Wernick did great work with Immortal X-Men. Matheus Manhanini has drawn really fantastic covers for Gods recently. This Storm cover is no exception. We're already excited. Let's read the solicit. Earth's mightiest mutant, now headlighting her own series, Aurora Monroe has lived many lives. She's been a thief, goddess, X-Man, a queen, and now an Avenger. She's the most prominent, most respected, and most powerful mutant on the world stage. In that role, she intends to be a force for positive change. First up, a major meltdown at a nuclear facility in Oklahoma City draws Storm from her sanctuary in Atlanta and into a moral conflict that will test her iron resolve. I am so curious to see if Storm is going to be involved with anything involving Arakko moving forward in her own solo series. We already know that Apocalypse already has a lot to do over on Arakko, is teased by the X-Men Era of Apocalypse series. Elsewhere, too, Storm is right about to debut her brand new appearance over for the Avengers books. So also really interested to see how the Avengers, X-Men, and Storm comics will be able to work together to keep the continuity cohesive with Storm moving forward. Also, Lucas Wernick's slightly updated visual design for Storm is really beautiful here too. Okay, let's go ahead and preview the future of the adjectiveless X-Men series. This is X-Men issue 5, written by Jed MacKay, featuring art and cover by Ryan Stegman. I feel like the more images I see of the X-Men illustrated by Ryan Stegman, the more I start to realize of the visual genius and quirky stylization that Stegman brings to so many of his images. This cover is so interesting as it features Quentin and Quanon actually navigating the psychic space at Marvel Comics and actually showing that they have this same, psychic power set as well. This is issue 5 on sale October 2nd. Telepathic team up. While the X-Men engage the social media sociopath upstarts, Kid Omega and Psylocke dive deep into the mind of a troubled mutant. Silence. Psychic rescue in progress. But Quentin Quire has never been good at keeping his mouth shut. Once again, here's super interesting to see the characters of Quanon and Quentin team up for a more psychic-oriented story at Marvel Comics. And once again, also happy to see Stegman just shaking up some of his visual identity here and really showcasing how dynamic he can be as an artist. Here is Exceptional X-Men issue 2, featuring Kitty Pryde watching over the brand new era of mutant characters. This one written by Eve Ewing, featuring art and cover by Carmen Carnero. The White Queen makes her move. Kitty Pryde's continued attempts at living a normal, non-mutant life go laughably wrong as she finds herself in the middle of a brawl started by a couple of headstrong teens with remarkable abilities, which of course they're terrible at controlling. She's sworn off being anybody's teacher, mentor, professor, sensei, or anything that reminds her of her old life. But will the White Queen force her hand? I am so thrilled about Exceptional X-Men. I think watching the brand new relationships establish with Kitty, Axo, Bronze, and the rest of this brand new team of mutant heroes is going to be so much fun. Also, I'm really interested how Eve Ewing is going to be able to write the relationship drama between Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost. They've had so much back and forth and just so many disparate moments throughout their relationship. I'm so thrilled to see how they're going to be able to operate a brand new team of mutant heroes. This new issue of Phoenix is shaking things up considerably by bringing a new intergalactic villain, Gore the God Butcher, over to the Phoenix property. This is the 4th issue of Phoenix, written by Stephanie Phillips, featuring artwork from Alessandro Miraclo, and I think this cover from Yasmin Putri is incredibly beautiful. I do want to reference the fact that at Marvel Comics right now, there is a little bit of controversy surrounding artist Alessandro Miraclo and some of the images he's been using from other creators. I'm really hoping that Marvel will act on this, and I'm been a little bit disappointed to see Miraclo's just so much of his individual images be referenced by like other creators. Let's go ahead and check out the solicit on this one and see how Marvel Comics is going to respond to this, and if they're going to maybe assign a new artist to Phoenix or what they have aboard for upcoming installments. Beware the God Butcher. His call has gone out across the universe. He will have his retribution. He will bring his awful vengeance to bear. Gore the God Butcher is going to kill the Phoenix. Plus, Captain Marvel comes to call. Yeah, the idea of adding Gore the God Butcher to an X-Men story is incredible visceral. It's a great idea for a comic book writer to, implement over to their main series. And I am really hoping that Marvel has some big things in store for the Phoenix and has yet other characters that are this fascinating to bring into some future installments. Rez says Jean is carrying the cosmic side of Marvel. So far, that is true. I'm wondering if some of the more fringe elements of the X-Men line will also bring some more, cosmic entities as well. It feels like X-Men may be colliding with some of the continuity that Jean is experiencing in Phoenix. So while that's true at the moment, I wonder if it's going to be true in the weeks and months to come. So here's the upcoming Sentinel series written by Alex Packnadel, featuring art by Justin Mason. This one also on sale October 9th from Marvel. Who are the new Sentinels? The original Sentinel program was human supremacy and fear coded into circuitry. But now their legacy falls into the hands of mutant kind, powered by cutting-edge nanotech. This new generation of Sentinels protects a fragile peace between mutants and humans. But when being a Sentinel is your job, your life, is it possible to stay human? Meet a brand new team of heroes that will take on the most heinous mutants. Their first mission, capture Omega Red. Yeah, very thrilled about what the Sentinels are bringing aboard. I've been seeing so much of what author Alex Packnadel has been posting on Twitter. I'm excited about the book because he's excited about the book, frankly. Also, the more I see from artist Justin Mason, the more impressed I am. While I don't think that some of this art really accommodates to me as a reader, there is just so much detail in all of the lines and imagery that Mason brings aboard to some of these images, and I'm really hoping that the rest of Sentinels will follow suit. This one could really be a sleeper at Marvel Comics. I don't necessarily know how much time we'll have to cover it, but we will at least talk about it over on these streams moving forward. We've already previewed this new issue of X-Force. The cast of this series has me so excited between Sage, Tank, Forge, Surge, and now it looks like Man-Thing is joining the story for a brand new tale as well. I feel like there is so much potential in this book, and I am really hoping that Marvel will be able to capitalize on it moving forward. The creative team is super cool too, with Jeffrey Thorne and Marcus Toe. We've already talked about this Mystique series in so much depth here. This is a 5-issue miniseries, both written and illustrated from Declan Shalvey, who worked on really celebrated comics at Marvel, like the Moon Knight series with Warren Ellis. I am really hoping for some big and bold things over in this new chapter of Mystique. And I'm also hoping that in the wake of this really violent new outlook for Mystique, that she'll still remember all these elements of family she was able to cultivate towards the end of Krakoa, with comic books like X-Men Blue bringing her closer than ever before to Destiny and Nightcrawler. So Declan Shalvey has so much work to do in his upcoming Mystique miniseries, but if anybody can do it, I think it's going to be him. Geek Ledger, welcome to the stream. Good to have you aboard here. This is Uncanny X-Men 4 from Marvel Comics. This is the flagship series for the line here, written by Gail Simone, featuring artwork from David Marquez. I love this cover. I think it features a really interesting, intense gaze over for Rogue. Rogue stands alone and a mutant prophecy revealed. With one X-Men down and hell coming for the rest, Rogue finds herself alone against a power of darkness she is completely unprepared for. No backup, no lifeline, and no way out. As she fights alone, a secret of the new recruits is revealed. Is one of them the ending that will destroy all of mutant kind? Just like that second installment of NYX really focused in on Laura Kinney, I'm so thrilled to see Uncanny X-Men putting Rogue right at the forefront of the comic book tale. I feel like this book has so many like A-list X-Men between Gambit and Wolverine that it's going to be hard for a character like Rogue to really establish her identity. So having Gail Simone and David Marquez putting her right in the forefront and opening up some brand new plot threads will, I think, really serve that character in the issues to come. This cover from David Marquez is strikingly beautiful, and I love the way he's able to depict the expressions for so many of his individual characters. Here is Wolverine 2. Wolverine can be a really tough sell for me as a series, just due to the incredibly violent nature of the character. But this one has me really excited because of the creative team. Author Saladin Ahmed is doing incredible work over on Daredevil, and he's also bringing some of that same sensibility to Wolverine alongside another really fantastic artist, Martin Kokolo. Where goes the Wendigo? Who stalks Wolverine in the Canadian North? And what mysterious designs does the Wendigo have on the best there is? Logan just wants to be left alone, but a war on two fronts will evolve with an unexpected turn. Don't miss the debut of the all-new Wendigo, as the secret it hides will shape Wolverine's mission. Is Wolverine battle some villains that I'm not particularly interested in, like Wendigo? I wonder if Saladin Ahmed will be able to break off from the direction of some previous Wolverine creators and continue to have an interesting through line with the Wolverine character as well. So I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this book here until it's published, but I'm at least a little bit more interested than I would be given the fascinating creative team assembled here. Let's talk about the second issue of Dazzler. This series is actually a 4-issue miniseries, also written by a tremendous creator with Jason Liu. We have artwork by Rafael Loureiro and a cover from both Terry and Rachel Dodson. London Calling. Dazzler and her entourage travel across the pond for the next stop on her world tour. But when a live studio session goes dangerously awry, it's time for Domino and Strong Guy to shine. But who is the mystery villain out to cancel Dazzler's performances permanently, featuring action, heartbreak, and another original set of song lyrics? Yeah, Jason Liu, very new writer at Marvel Comics, definitely has contributed some interesting work so far with smaller properties, and I'm really interested in what he could be bringing to this new Dazzler tale. I'm also liking the interesting cast made up of this team here with Domino and Strong Guy in the background. Plus, we have a direct reference to the fact that this issue is going to be taking place in London. So I feel like among some of the more serious books across the X-Men's From the Ashes line, that this Dazzler tale is going to strike a much different balance than the rest of the series too. Geek Ledger says, I am so excited to be officially jumping headfirst into comics this fall. I've ordered the collected paperback of Ultimate Invasion, and I've pre-ordered all the volume 1 of the new Ultimate Universe. That is fantastic to hear. It feels like Marvel Comics is pretty approachable right now, as they've recently launched like very new publishing initiatives. Would really encourage you to try and stick with the Ultimate Universe to see where that's headed. And also maybe to jump aboard some of these X-Men books as they've just launched. Would really encourage you as well to check out NYX. I think that is such like an approachable comic book that still has really interesting continuity seated in some of the background and subtext of that tale. Okay, let's talk about the latest issue of X Factor. This one still has yet to debut from Marvel, but frankly, there's a lot to be excited about here just due to the creative team alone. Author Mark Russell is writing the tale, featuring artwork from Bob Quinn and covers from Greg Land. X Factor goes to the moon. A computer-controlled lunar base has gone out of control. How can Havoc and Frenzy stop a foe that can predict the team's every move? And does the key to victory lie with the team's most mysterious new member, Granny Smites? Yeah, very interested to see Granny Smites and how some of the new team dynamics of this book are going to shake out. I'm already loving the cast here with heroes like Havoc and Frenzy in the background. And I'm also so interested at what kind of tone Mark Russell is going to bring to this comic book and how much satire he's also going to bring to the tale with comic books in the background that he's written like Flintstones too. Here's a look at X-Men issue 6. This one features Magic and Temper protecting a mutant character. featuring writing from Jed McKay, but it looks like this one is actually illustrated from Netho Diaz as opposed to cover artist Ryan Stegman. Secrets behind the X-Men's new home revealed. While the X-Men attempt to unravel the globe-spanning conspiracy against them, Temper and Magic work to investigate one close to home. Merle, Alaska holds more secrets than just the ones kept within the factory, and the two mutants must leave the safety of their headquarters and head to the streets for answers. Loving that the new base called the Factory is located in Merle, Alaska, and I'm super interested to see Cyclops lead his brand new team of X-Men to protect their home. And we also have a tease that there could be more secrets from Merle, Alaska than the ones that have already been hinted at with the mysterious Sentinel production that was going on in the factory as well. Also, really hoping that we're going to see some bolstered character presence for heroes like Temper, who've only gotten a couple moments with individuals like Cyclops and Quentin Quire. Also think that Magic could establish more of a character dynamic with somebody other than Juggernaut in future issues as well. So there's so much potential here in X-Men. I love that cover that we previewed a little bit earlier over in our stream, and I think this one brings a much different tone in the series right to the forefront. Also curious about how Netho Diaz is going to be able to approach the interiors to this series in the absence of Ryan Stegman. Here is NYX4. This is a comic book that we already explored previously. This one is also interesting as it actually goes away from previous artist Francesco Mortarino and features art from Enid Balam. That being said, though, I think the covers from Sarah Pichelli are amongst the very best in the industry and are super impressive. Okay, so that is the X-Men comic books over in October. Frankly, I think there is so much to look forward to. Okay, let's see where we're at and what we're going to take on next. While I'm not reading every individual comic book issue the day it comes out, I have a lot of love and respect for Marvel Comics' current Venom series from Al Ewing and Toron Grönbeck, and I am really excited about the Venom War that is happening pretty much right now over at Marvel Comics. Let's go ahead and explore some of the upcoming previews that the publisher just announced for the October solicits. This one was posted July 22nd from Marvel.com. Venom War tie-in issues spotlight the fight to be the true Venom, Carnage's grasp at godhood, and more. Maximum Carnage, Absolute Carnage, King in Black. Every few years, the wild symbiote corner of the Marvel Universe erupts in a saga oozing with violence, drama, and insanity that only Venom and his kind can deliver. This August, the next milestone symbiote event arrives in Al Ewing and Iban Coelho's Venom War. Today, fans get a glimpse at the showdown to come with new information on new tie-in issues on sale in October, including all new limited series and the reveal of the third issue of the main event series. A master at planning out epic storylines, Ewing has been laying out the foundations for Venom War since he began his Venom run in 2021. Limitless in scope, the series has pushed Eddie Brock and his son Dylan to their limits across journeys on space and time, with mythos-shattering revelations every step of the way. Being a symbiote host has never been more demanding, and after both of them receive terrifying glimpses of the future, they realize only one of them can be Venom. Their father and son feud will become everyone's problem as past and present symbiote characters are forced to take a side while others' characters choose to take advantage of the chaos. There is already so many plot threads that differentiate this Venom War from your average Venom storyline. The fact that both Eddie and Dylan have seen these visions in the future about how only one of them can be Venom is a great backdrop over for this tale. And I think it's also really, really interesting to consider about how much of the core Venom series from Al Ewing has really been about Eddie trying to go back and rescue his son Dylan. The fact that he's twisted this scenario and made it so that Eddie and Dylan are at each other's throats is incredibly dark and harrowing, and I'm really hoping that he'll have the story justification to really pull off this massive twist for the Venom property. Let's quickly note here that the Venom War is a 5-issue miniseries written by Al Ewing featuring art and cover from Iban Coelho. A 3-way war for the symbiote Eddie Brock, Dylan Brock, and Peter Parker. Who is the ultimate host for the Venom symbiote? If the wrong one wins, it could spell disaster for the world. But which can save us all? The tide of the war here turns as some of their contenders are eliminated. Yeah, interesting to note that the main Venom War series is written by Ewing with artwork here from Coelho. This cover is incredibly visceral and features great attention to detail with characters who are posing in these really strong and exaggerated ways. This is Venom War Spider-Man issue 3 of a 4-issue miniseries written by the NYX writers of Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, featuring art and cover from Greg Land. Peter Parker, King in Black. We've seen what happens if Eddie can get the symbiote. We've seen what happens if Dylan can get the symbiote. Clearly, everything would work out if a great guy like Peter held on to it. Right? Right? Want to take a step back and quickly comment on the fact that Marvel's main Amazing Spider-Man series is doing something incredibly similar to this right now in main continuity. I can't help but acknowledge the fact that this Venom War tie-in for Spider-Man detracts from what the main Amazing Spider-Man series is doing right now, and I wish Marvel maybe planned out their publishing line a little bit more cohesively so it didn't feel like these two books are stumbling over each other. What I think is a lot more exciting is this upcoming issue of Venom. Venom right now is written by Toron Gronbeck, as Al Ewing is currently working with the main tie-in Venom War event series. Okay, awesome. This one, in addition to the awesome cover, actually still features interiors from Kafu. Old Man Venom's time quest continues. Old Man Dylan Brock's adventure through time, bring an end to the Venom War, takes him to one of the darkest places in the realm Chthon. Can even Doctor Strange help him when confronted with the ultimate temptation of evil? Yes, so many fascinating plot threads detailed here. I love the look at characters like Meridius and this very twisted version of Venom featured down below. The fact that we're still working with Old Man Venom after all this time here is just remarkable in terms of Marvel's continuity too. So happy to see the publisher still sticking with this Venom series after years of publication and even extending it out to this mini-series. I really hope Marvel will continue to embrace not only Al Ewing as a writer, but Toron Gronbeck as well. We have a Venom War Wolverine crossover. I'm just going to read the creative team for this one, and then we'll go to the next tie-in. There's just not enough time in the day for me to read each and every one of these tie-in issues. This one written by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, featuring artwork by Kev Walker and a cover by Ken Lashley. That being said, though, I like the entire creative team. AfroSF says, wow, Kafu is amazing. I have his Valiant stuff. Yeah, his Valiant work was really excellent. And I think all of his interiors have been beautiful. Here is a Venom War Deadpool tie-in written by Cullen Bunn, featuring art from Rob DiSalvo. Man, I love Giuseppe Camuncoli as an artist. I think this cover is really, really beautiful, taking on some fascinating characters like Frankenstein's monster, Man-Thing, and even more heroes here. Okay, so one comic book that I want to talk about in a ton of depth is Venom War Venomous. This is the third installment of a 3-issue miniseries, so it's the final issue here, featuring writing by Erica Schultz and artwork from Luciano Vecchio and a cover by Lyrics. Each and every one of these creators are phenomenal. The idea of taking the character of Black Widow and melding her with a symbiote, such a great idea. And I think Luciano Vecchio's artwork is just so exaggerated and interesting in terms of design. Let's check out how the end of Natasha's miniseries is shaken out in the third issue of the Venom War Venomous Solicit. Black Widow versus her symbiote. Natasha may be doing everything in her power to rein in the symbiote outbreak and protect the innocent from these horrors, but who is going to protect her when her own symbiote goes bad? You know, I remember in doing the research for the Venom issues that Toran Gronbeck wrote in the main Venom series, that her symbiote was actually eating brains. So the idea of it becoming violent and Natasha losing control actually holds really strongly with those first couple Venom issues. I'm really wondering, how tense, how bad and bloody this battle is going to get here, and of course, where Natasha is heading next after this venomous Venom War miniseries. Well, I do think this miniseries has a super confusing name. I love the idea, plot, and creative team behind it. And the cover isn't bad either. Here is Venom War Carnage. This one incredibly striking as it features Cletus Cassidy as Carnage and his incredibly inflated ego battling the incredibly tense and villainous Meridius as seen in the main Venom series. This one written by Toran Gronbeck featuring art by Pere Perez and a cover from Ken Lashley. Carnage versus Meridius. It is all led up to this, like many gods before him, in order to step into his full power, Carnage must destroy his own creator. Who can walk away from this fight, and in what form? Yeah, just the idea of this story is so thrilling. I really hope the execution of the comic book lives up to this really wild scenario here, and I can't wait to see if Cletus is going to be able to get checked by the awesome power of Meridius in this series. Geek Ledger says, with Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters, it feels like he's just shoehorned in, but it looks like they're respecting the character and the readers. Okay, looks like Geek Ledger is saying that in response to Deadpool. Okay, so this Venom War Lethal Protector series is written by Sabra Perzada, featuring art from Luca Maresca. While I don't know if I'm interested in these characters, we have a pretty strong creative team here, with Sabra Perzada writing some really good Miss Marvel stories with the X-Men recently. And here is a Venom War Fantastic Four issue. It's cool to see this character was previewed during, I believe, Free Comic Book Day or in another issue of Venom. We also have the Red Goblin stepping aboard here. This one written by Adam Warren, featuring art by Joey Vasquez, with a cover from David Baldeon. Okay, I do like this She-Hulk zombie depiction over from artist Juan Ferreira on Venom War Symbiotes, written by Kavan Scott, featuring art by Juan Jose Rip. Okay, as you can see, Marvel Comics is incredibly busy with the Venom War, especially in the wake of an event going on and the relaunch for the X-Men property too. Okay, we've got 2 stories left on our stream today. The first one is an explanation behind Marvel Comics' recent publishing strategy. This is, I think, a super interesting news story coming in from comicbook.com, written by Carmen Bonamolo. Hopefully I got that name right. X-Men editor explains why Marvel Comics is hiding bonus scenes behind QR codes. Tom Brevoort says, bonus scenes will continue throughout Marvel's X-Men from the Ashes relaunch. Let's see, there's so many ads on comicbook.com. It's so difficult to navigate this website. Jed McKay and Ryan Stegman's X-Men #1 launched the X-Men's From the Ashes era with the new X-Men team and villains known as 3K. Revealed not only in the issue itself, but in a comic book version of a Marvel post-credit scene. After Alaska-based X-Men Cyclops, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Temper, Magic, and Juggernaut battled a team of Orchis-made New Mutants, the issue snuck in an extra sequence. A scannable QR code redirected readers to a one-page bonus scene accessed through the Marvel website. The trend has continued across Marvel's just relaunched comic books with Phoenix and NYX, which introduce major characters' plot points in online bonus scenes accessible behind third-party QR readers. I want to take a few moments and say that Marvel's post-credit scenes that they've been able to sneak behind these QR codes have actually made me even more interested in the publishing than I would have been otherwise. Getting to see these brand new spoiler pages that reference like some upcoming villains and like each series has been a wonderful way to expand the scope of each of these individual comic books. I love the 3K team introduced in the main X-Men series and all the mysterious motivations that were hinted at in the shadows there. Phoenix's use of Donnie introduced in that issue was also quite nice in the post-credits sequence. And I think NYX in particular probably did the most with their post-credits scene by doing so much with the Cuckoo characters and Hellion as seen in the background. So I really think this has been a massive success that Marvel could probably even implement to other comic books in the line. That being said, though, just using this for the X-Men books have made these titles feel a little bit special. It was a bonus page to begin with, an extra page. We didn't scale back the contents of X-Men 1 in order to do it. Marvel Comics VP Executive Editor Tom Brevoort explained on Substack. And it gave us a page whose contents would conceal until the day of release, thus avoiding any early spoilers. You'll be finding what we're doing, similar pages in most of the new X launches. And there we go, right from Tom Brevoort, we have a really clear hint as to why Marvel Comics is sneaking these QR codes in. They really want to try and avoid as much spoilers as possible because so many of these retailers try and leak out these last credits pages or just so much of the background behind these issues here. Brevoort goes on to explain they're a little free bonus, a little extra, sort of a modern day equivalent of that Things to Come page that ran in the first issue of the Chris Claremont Jim Lee X-Men. The editor added, referring to the single splash page post that ended the X-Men's 90s relaunch. In this era of early spoilers, I love that this approach gives us the opportunity to hold on to some of those plot points right up until the day the title ships. You'll see the pattern repeated in most of the other X launches of the era. We will include these pages and the eventual collected editions for those who don't own a phone. Once again, I think Marvel Comics is really covering their bases here by referencing the fact that these pages are going to be collected, in the trade paperback collections, and also just sneaking these QR codes in for like an additional cliffhanger to get readers interested to pick up the next issue. I think is a ton of fun. The only reservation I have behind this publishing initiative is the fact that it hides some of the beautiful artwork behind these QR codes. Very happy with Marvel's publishing tease. Let's get a preview of what we can expect from San Diego Comic-Con today, actually. This is Marvel Comics' brand new Psylocke series that's set to be announced at San Diego Comic-Con later on today. This one coming in from David Brook earlier this week on July 23rd. An all-new Psylocke series is launching this November. Marvel Comics has teased a new Psylocke comic book set to launch in November. This is going to be revealed at San Diego Comic-Con 2024 today at the Marvel Comics X-Men From the Ashes title. Currently, the From the Ashes era has had a Dazzler, Phoenix, and Storm series that started or coming out soon. It truly is the age of female mutants. So happy to see all these characters get their own ongoing series and with really, really strong creative teams too. Storm looks like it's in incredibly good hands with Marewa Ayadeli as well as Lucas Wernick. Plus, she's got so many interesting plot threads with her relationship not only to the Avengers but the X-Men too. So getting an ongoing solo series with her now is just a great idea. Phoenix's debut featuring her with like an intergalactic scenario in space battling some of the Marvel cosmic characters like the Universal Church of Truth and this new villain called Adani is a great way to launch a brand new series with that character. It looks like Dazzler has some interesting new heroes that she's associating with Strong Guy and Domino. Also, I think Jason Liu is such an interesting up and coming writer at Marvel. I am so fascinated at what he's going to bring to that book. In the background, one thing that also accommodates this idea of Marvel's, age of young mutant characters is Ultimate X-Men. So many characters in Ultimate X-Men are incredibly, young up-and-coming mutants about to make their names known across the Ultimate Universe. So I think this sentence crafted here, it truly is the age of female mutants, is more correct than you could have ever anticipated if you analyzed Marvel's line of X-Men books. So it looks like this panel is set to debut today at 3 p.m. Pacific. That's 6 p.m. Eastern. An all-new Psylocke series launches this November. Stay tuned for the full announcement this Saturday at Marvel Comics X-Men From the Ashes panel at San Diego Comic-Con. I love this because the reason why Marvel Comics hasn't announced this comic book yet is because it's not for their October solicits. It's actually releasing in November and will be featured on their next era of solicits, probably right next to the upcoming storylines that Marvel is set to announce at San Diego Comic-Con today. Now, I am really hoping that we'll get some kind of maybe smaller scale event to bridge so many of the X-Men books together, and that we get maybe 1 or 2 new projects hinted at in the X-Men comic book line. We will be back to stream tomorrow over on the channel to see what Marvel Comics announced at this X-Men From the Ashes panel. In addition, we will also be taking a look at the X-Men Monday featuring X-Force. But I want to thank you so much for coming aboard and hanging out with us over on the stream today. It was so fun going over all these upcoming announcements from Marvel at San Diego Comic-Con. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about all of the new X-Men revelations, and I'm just so excited to see you there. Thanks so much for checking out our stream today, and I'll see you early tomorrow for the future of the X-Men property at Marvel Comics. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.